When it comes to making a man truly desire you, one of the most powerful tools you can use is the art of partial availability. It's the subtle balance between being present enough to keep him hooked, but distant enough to keep him chasing. When a man feels that your attention is precious, that he can't just have unlimited access to you whenever he pleases, it changes the way he sees you. You stop being just another person in his life, and you start becoming a rare experience, something he can't get enough of. It's not about playing games in a manipulative way, but about creating an energy where he understands that your time, your presence, and your affection are not things he can take for granted. See, when you give someone everything, your time, your energy, your constant attention, they quickly get used to it. What was once exciting and valuable can easily become expected, and once it becomes expected, it starts to lose its impact. But when you practice partial availability, you create a rhythm of give and take. You let him feel your warmth, your laughter, your energy in bursts, and then you step back. You allow him the space to miss you, to think about you, to wonder what you're doing when you're not around. That wondering is where desire is born. It's the same principle that makes a sunset more beautiful because it doesn't last all day. It's the fact that it's fleeting that makes people stop and appreciate it. Your presence should carry that same quality. When he knows that you're not going to be sitting around waiting for him to call, when he sees that you have your own life, your own priorities, your own passions, he starts to view you as a woman of value, someone who chooses to share her world with him, not someone who needs him to fill her world. That shift in perspective changes the dynamic entirely. Being partially available doesn't mean ignoring him completely or withholding affection in a cold way. It means being intentional about when and how you give your attention. For example, if he calls and you're genuinely busy, don't drop everything to answer right away. Call him back when you're free, and when you do, be fully engaged in that moment. Let him feel that when he has your time, it's special and full of connection, but also let him feel that your life is full even without him. This creates a pull that's hard for a man to resist because it taps into a natural human desire to want what feels rare and valuable. Men are wired to pursue, to work for what they truly want. When you're always available, the pursuit ends too quickly. But when you give him just enough to keep his interest alive while maintaining your own boundaries and space, you reignite that instinct in him. He will start putting in more effort, planning more, thinking about ways to impress you, and valuing the moments you do share. Partial availability keeps the energy between you alive, exciting, and fresh, because he never feels like he has fully figured you out or secured you. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to fake this. You don't have to pretend to be busy or manufacture distance. The most authentic way to master partial availability is to actually live a life that you love outside of him. Fill your time with activities that feed your soul, friendships that inspire you, and goals that excite you. When your life is already rich and full, you naturally become less available, and the moments you give to him feel more intentional, more treasured, and more impactful. The truth is, the less he feels he can have all of you on demand, the more he will want you. Desire grows in the spaces you allow between moments, and when you master the balance of closeness and distance, you become unforgettable. One of the most magnetic parts of the Mirage technique is learning how to give a man just enough emotional intimacy to make him feel deeply connected to you, while still keeping an air of mystery that leaves him craving more. Men are drawn to women who can make them feel safe to open up, but who also maintain a certain level of intrigue. It's a combination that stirs both his heart and his mind, creating an emotional pull he can't quite explain. When he feels that you get him on a level most people don't, yet there's still something about you he hasn't fully unlocked, he becomes invested in trying to get closer. Emotional intimacy starts with truly being present when you're with him. It's the way you look into his eyes when he speaks, the way you actually listen instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, the way you pick up on the little details he shares about his life. Men notice when someone genuinely hears them, and they treasure it because it's rare. Most people engage on a surface level, but when you go deeper, remembering his dreams, his fears, his quirks, you create a safe space that feels unique to him. That safe space becomes addictive because in it he feels understood. But here's the twist. While you give him that depth, you don't reveal everything about yourself all at once. You share pieces of your own world in layers, letting him discover you over time. This slow reveal is powerful because it mirrors the way desire works. It grows when there's always more to learn, more to uncover. When you share just enough to let him in, but keep parts of yourself sacred until he's truly earned them, you create a magnetic pull. He's drawn to the mystery, but anchored by the connection. It's like reading a book that has both beautiful moments and unanswered questions. Every chapter leaves him wanting to turn the page, and that's exactly the energy you create when you balance openness with mystery. Too much mystery without intimacy feels cold and unapproachable. Too much openness without mystery can feel overwhelming or even take away the thrill of discovery. But the sweet spot where he feels both close to you and curious about you is where the magic lives. This technique also works because it taps into his natural desire to be the one who earns your trust and gets to know your deeper self. Men often value what they work for, so when you let him feel that he's earning your trust step by step, his investment in you deepens. He'll work harder to prove himself worthy of your more vulnerable sides, and in doing so he becomes more emotionally attached. You can practice this in small ways, sharing a meaningful story from your life during a quiet moment together, then later holding back on other personal details until the time feels right. Or you might encourage him to open up about something important to him, and instead of immediately matching his level of vulnerability, you offer a thoughtful but slightly lighter response, leaving him wondering about the depths you haven't yet shown. That gentle restraint builds anticipation, and anticipation is one of the most powerful forces in attraction. When you blend genuine emotional closeness with a graceful withholding of certain layers of yourself, you create a space where he feels safe, yet endlessly intrigued. He's not just physically drawn to you, he's emotionally captivated, and that combination is what makes him keep coming back, eager to know more, and unwilling to let you go. Another essential part of the Mirage technique is mastering the art of unpredictability, not in a chaotic or unstable way, but in a way that keeps him on his toes, always wondering what's next with you. Human nature is wired to crave novelty and surprise, and relationships can sometimes slip into routines that dull the excitement over time. When you know how to break those patterns just enough to keep things fresh, you become the woman he can't get out of his mind, because every interaction feels alive, stimulating and different from the last. Unpredictability in this sense doesn't mean playing games or being inconsistent with your values. It's about weaving in moments that disrupt the expected. Maybe he assumes you'll always respond in a certain way, but instead you surprise him, sometimes with a burst of playful humor, other times with deep, thoughtful insight. You might switch up your appearance unexpectedly, not to seek his approval, but to show that you are dynamic and evolving. A simple change in hairstyle, a new color you've never worn before, or even a different tone in your voice during a conversation can spark his curiosity. These subtle shifts remind him that you are not static and that he still has more to discover about you. This unpredictability also extends to your shared experiences. Instead of falling into a routine of doing the same things together, you introduce new adventures, even if they're small. It could be as simple as taking a different walking route, suggesting a last-minute trip to a hidden cafe, or trying an activity neither of you has done before. These moments break the monotony and create fresh memories, which strengthen emotional bonds and make him associate you with excitement and novelty. Psychologically, when someone is a little unpredictable, it keeps the brain engaged. He can't just figure you out and put you in a mental box. Instead, he stays alert, tuned in and invested because there's always the possibility of being pleasantly surprised. This is especially powerful in attraction because it creates a sense of anticipation. He doesn't just look forward to seeing you, he wonders what new energy or experience you'll bring. However, the magic is in balance. Too much unpredictability without a foundation of trust can make someone feel unsettled. That's why the Mirage technique blends this element with emotional intimacy and authenticity. He knows your core is steady. You're not erratic, but your outer expression is full of variety. This combination keeps the relationship feeling safe while still exciting, which is exactly the environment where desire thrives. One way to use this in conversation is by occasionally shifting topics in unexpected but interesting directions. If he expects you to follow a predictable script, you might instead introduce a fresh perspective or playful challenge. It could be sharing a random fact, posing an intriguing question, or teasing him in a light-hearted way that makes him laugh. These moments disrupt patterns and spark curiosity, which naturally draws him closer. In your presence, he should feel that every moment with you has the potential to unfold differently than he imagined. Sometimes you're sweet and affectionate, sometimes mysterious and quiet, sometimes full of energy and laughter. This doesn't mean you're pretending to be someone else. It means you're allowing the different authentic sides of yourself to shine at different times, depending on the moment. When a man experiences this with you, you become not just a person in his life, but a source of emotional and sensory variety. And once he's hooked on that feeling, he'll keep chasing it, because deep down he knows he can't find the exact same spark anywhere else. Another vital part of the Mirage technique is mastering the power of selective availability. This is not about ignoring him to create insecurity, but about showing that your time, energy, and attention are valuable commodities, not something handed out endlessly without thought. When a man knows he doesn't have unrestricted access to you every second of the day, he starts to value the moments he does get with you so much more. It taps into a basic psychological truth: scarcity increases perceived value. Being selectively available sends the silent message that you have a rich, full life that exists beyond him, and that you're not sitting around waiting for his next move. It could mean you're sometimes busy pursuing your passions, meeting friends, working on personal goals, or simply enjoying time to yourself. When he sees you're not constantly reachable, it makes him realize that your world is not centered solely around him, and that if he wants to be part of it, he needs to earn and maintain his place. This approach also keeps you from over-investing too quickly. Many women unknowingly give all of themselves emotionally, physically, and mentally right from the start, leaving no mystery or space for desire to grow. By pacing your availability, you give the connection room to breathe. When you do show up, whether it's for a date, a deep conversation, or even just a casual text, it carries more weight and excitement because it's not something he can take for granted. Selective availability doesn't mean playing games like purposefully delaying responses for hours just to manipulate him. It's about being genuinely engaged in your own life, which naturally means you're not glued to your phone or rearranging everything to accommodate him at all times. For example, if you have plans with friends, you keep them instead of canceling just because he calls. If you're deep into a personal project, you allow yourself to focus on it without breaking your flow every time a message comes through. This level of self-respect is magnetic because it communicates strength, independence, and self-worth. Men are naturally drawn to women who are a little bit of a challenge, not because they enjoy difficulty for its own sake, but because a challenge signals that the woman has standards and boundaries. If you're always free and overly accommodating, it can unintentionally create a dynamic where he stops trying to impress you. But when you maintain your own schedule and priorities, he learns that spending time with you is something to be valued, not something to be assumed. Another powerful aspect of selective availability is the anticipation it creates. If he knows he can't predict exactly when he'll see you next, it builds a sense of longing. When that moment does arrive, it feels special and heightened. That anticipation is one of the most potent drivers of attraction. It keeps him thinking about you in the spaces in between. Of course, the key is balance. You don't want to be so unavailable that he feels shut out, nor so present that you lose the element of intrigue. It's about finding that sweet spot where your presence feels like a gift, not an obligation. This balance allows him to miss you just enough to appreciate you more, while still feeling secure in your interest. When you combine selective availability with the other elements of the Mirage technique: mystery, unpredictability, emotional connection, you create a dynamic where he feels lucky to have your attention. And once a man feels lucky to have you, he'll do everything he can to keep earning that privilege. Another powerful layer of the Mirage technique is the subtle art of leaving emotional breadcrumbs. This is about planting small, intriguing moments that spark his curiosity and keep him emotionally engaged, without ever giving him the full picture all at once. Emotional breadcrumbs are those hints, glances, and fragments of your inner world that make him want to lean in closer, ask more questions, and uncover the deeper layers of who you are. They work because they tap into his natural desire to solve puzzles and uncover mysteries, especially when that mystery is you. These breadcrumbs can take many forms. It might be a story you start but don't fully finish, leaving him wondering what happened next. It could be a passing comment about a place you'd love to visit someday, or a passion you've pursued in the past, without going into every detail. Even something as simple as a look, a pause, or a change in tone can send a silent message that there's more to discover. The key is to share just enough to spark interest, but not so much that you lay all your cards on the table. When done right, emotional breadcrumbs keep his mind returning to you when you're not around. He might find himself replaying your words, thinking about the half-told story, or imagining what it would be like to explore that hidden part of your world. That mental engagement is where attraction deepens, because you're not just a physical presence, you're a mental presence he can't shake. This doesn't mean being deceptive or manipulative. It's about allowing your personality, history, and dreams to unfold gradually in layers. Think of it like reading a captivating novel. You don't flip to the last page right away. You savor each chapter because the unfolding is part of the magic. By pacing the way you reveal yourself, you give him the opportunity to invest more attention and energy into truly getting to know you. Another benefit of leaving emotional breadcrumbs is that it positions you as a woman with depth. So often, in the early stages of a connection, people feel the need to overshare everything to establish intimacy quickly, but real intimacy grows through discovery. When you allow space for that process, you show that you trust the bond to develop naturally, and you make the journey exciting. This technique also naturally filters out the men who are only looking for something shallow. Someone who is genuinely interested will be drawn in by the mystery and will be willing to put in the effort to learn more about you. Someone who's not invested will lose interest quickly, and that's actually a good thing. It saves you from giving your time and energy to someone who doesn't deserve it. The trick is to pair these breadcrumbs with moments of warmth and openness. If you're all mystery with no connection, it can feel distant or frustrating. But when you combine hints of the unknown with genuine moments of closeness, you create a push-pull dynamic that keeps attraction alive. He gets just enough to feel connected, but still enough unanswered questions to keep him intrigued. When a man is in this state, curious, engaged, and mentally invested, he's far more likely to prioritize you over other women, because no one else is giving him that same combination of connection and curiosity. The Mirage technique works because it creates an experience he can't replicate elsewhere. And once he realizes that, he'll work to keep you close, because the thought of losing you becomes something he can't imagine. The final layer of the Mirage technique is knowing exactly when to pull away and create space, even when things feel intense and exciting. This might sound counterintuitive, especially if you're used to believing that closeness and constant communication are what keep a man interested, but in reality, space can be one of the most powerful tools for deepening his desire. The psychology behind it is simple: absence fuels longing, and longing builds emotional investment. When you give him moments without you, he has the chance to feel your absence and realize the value of your presence. Pulling away doesn't mean playing games or suddenly disappearing without explanation. It's about having your own life, your own rhythm, and your own priorities that don't always revolve around him. It's making sure you're not always available at the snap of his fingers, but instead allowing time apart to naturally create anticipation for when you reconnect. This space allows the memories of your last interaction to linger in his mind, growing sweeter the longer he waits to see you again. When a man doesn't have constant access to you, something shifts inside him. He starts to think about you more often, imagining what you're doing, wondering if you're thinking of him. That mental pull is exactly what makes him start to miss you in a way that feels deep and almost irresistible. It's not because you're withholding affection, but because you're giving him the opportunity to experience the contrast between your presence and your absence. This is where many women unintentionally sabotage attraction by rushing to fill every gap in conversation, by always initiating contact, or by rearranging their life to be constantly available. While that might feel like devotion, it often has the opposite effect, making him feel like he doesn't need to put in any effort to keep you interested. But when you step back strategically, you invite him to lean forward. He becomes the one who starts texting first, making plans, and finding reasons to be near you. The beauty of this approach is that it also keeps you in a healthy position. Instead of losing yourself in the relationship, you maintain your independence, your interests, and your own personal growth. This not only makes you more attractive, it keeps your self-esteem strong, which is essential for sustaining any connection. A man who knows you have a full, fulfilling life will respect you more and feel more motivated to earn a bigger place in it. Pulling away also works as a subtle test. The men who are truly interested will respond by moving closer, seeking out more time with you. The ones who aren't serious will drift, and that's actually a gift. It shows you early on where their intentions lie, so you don't waste emotional energy. The ones who stay, though, will be drawn even deeper, because they see you as someone who doesn't need them to feel whole, but who chooses them out of genuine desire. And here's the secret that makes this technique magnetic. When you finally return after a little distance, the connection feels fresher, more exciting, and more alive. The reunion becomes a spark that reignites attraction over and over again. You become the rare woman who understands that love and desire aren't sustained by constant closeness alone, but by the rhythm of closeness and space, a dance that keeps him hooked in both heart and mind. When you master this balance, you don't just make him desire you, you make him cherish you, because he's tasted what life is like without your energy, and he never wants that emptiness again.